complete, well, I actually asked you to do 2 of those programs as homework. But before we actually continue with that, there's some important uh, information that you guys need to know regarding tomorrow. Now, remember, tomorrow is our last lesson for this 3-week session. So what you need to know is that tomorrow our lesson starts at 2. Unfortunately, we're only going to have a lesson from 2 to 2:30. At 2:30, we are all going to join another meeting. I'm going to show you the link just now. To Manu, El, Renee, and Keshav, I actually emailed you the link for that meeting at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. The rest of you, I'm going to show it to you on the screen because you all did not email me. If you guys could message me your email addresses, I could send that to you as well because it's easier to actually open up the link. What you need to understand is that you need to be online for that meeting because of this. Tomorrow at 2:30, the Minister of Communications, Telecommunications, Postal Services, Stella Ndabeni Abrahams, is going to address and speak to all of you guys to basically find out from you guys exactly how you found the lessons, what did you learn from it, if you would like things to be different the next time around, etc., etc. This is the link for that meeting, people, so you can snip that, get a screenshot of it. For those of you that I emailed you earlier today. You have that link, so please, tomorrow at 2:30, ask your parents to actually log in as well, because obviously she wants to know how your parents actually feel about it, how you feel about it, whether you've learned anything, etc. Keshav did email me earlier, I mean yesterday, or was it this morning? I can't remember exactly, with regards to how you would continue next week. You know what I mean? If you want to extend your programming and coding knowledge, I will give you an email address, and we're using that email address. I'll actually give you links to Google Drive where there will be questions which you can answer. It'll be the questions and answers, right? I'll upload it once a week, and you can work with it on your own, and then you can check the answers, right? If you want, well, if you want to continue, and I'm sure all of you really do want to continue. Now, yesterday we stopped at this program, right? I actually asked you to attempt this over here, so we're actually going to look at how we're going to attempt this and how it's going to work. So you're going to read in N, followed by N marks, right? So obviously N is our input. It's going to be an integer. The user is going to enter N, followed by N marks. This followed by N marks story, that's going to be inside a loop. So obviously we need a loop that's going to go from 1 to N plus 1. Remember, it's N plus 1. Remember the range? Right. And then we need to determine and output the highest mark. Now, how do we actually keep track of the highest mark? Now, I want you to look at this here, right? We are going to input. We have to introduce a new variable. We'll call it high. And that high will keep track of each of the new highest variable, a value. So let's go look at what that looks like. Okay. So first things first, we are going to, let me just go down here. Let's just resize that, right? First things first, we are going to input N. Now, remember, we cast our input. Input reads everything in as a string. Enter enter the number of marks, right? So we are basically giving the user an instruction, enter the number of marks. So the user will enter, in this instance, in my example that we have for input over there, we're saying 5, right? So the user is going to enter 5. Now, very, very important, people, extremely important, right? Before we actually, now normally what would I do, people, if I wanted a read in 5 marks? Let's go and look at it. If I wanted a read in 5 marks, I would go for X in range 1 comma N plus 1. I'm sure all of us are fully aware of why we have N plus 1 there, right? And then, right? and then we are going to come here and we're going to say mark is assigned, and we're going to cast that input, right? Remember this here, and we're going to say enter mark, and we're going to come here and we're going to say plus, and it's going to be str x. What's the first value x will take on, guys? X will take on 1. Then x will take on 2. So it's going to say enter mark 1, enter mark 2. Each time x changes, it's going to change, and it's going to be plus, and we're just going to go and put a colon there, right? So this is basically going to enter 5 marks. Okay, so let's run this. This is just a refresher from yesterday where we read in n and read in n marks. Okay, so all right, so we're going to enter 5, and I'm just going to enter 5 marks, right? Enter mark 1, 12, 56, 34, 87, 34. Can you see that? So that entered the 5 marks. But here's the thing. I need to check each mark against my variable called high. That means I'm going to give high a value. Now, here's the thing, right? We are inputting a mark. Let's assume the mark is a percentage. If the mark is a percentage, the highest mark will be 100 and the lowest mark will be 0. So to find, now this is a little bit tricky, so please follow very, very carefully. And if you have any questions, please ask if you're confused, right? So I'm going to have a variable called high is assigned. Now we take high and we assign it to the lowest possible value. The lowest possible value, in fact, lower than the lowest value. What's lower than 0? -1. Because now, what's the first mark we're inputting? 23. We're going to check, is 23 greater than -1? If it is, if 23, the mark that is input, is greater than -1, then high must take on that 23. So each time any of this mark is greater than the value that high has, then high must take on this new value. So when we are finding highest, before our loop, we initialize it. We give it an initial value and we give it an impossible lowest value. So we know that a mark is from 0 to 100. So lower than 0, -1, nobody can actually get -1. So every mark will be greater than that, right? Why am I saying that? Because all of them could get 0 and 0 would be the highest mark. All 5 children could have gotten 0 and 0 would be then the highest mark. All right, so what am I going to do? How do I compare? How do I compare mark to high? So I'm going to check now if the mark the user entered is greater than high. Now, please follow carefully, right? What is the value of high? What's the first value that high takes on? It takes on -1. All right? It takes on -1. Now, what is the first mark the user entered? 23. Is 23 greater than -1? Is 23 greater than -1? It's true. And because it's true, guys, then high must take on this new value of 23, which is higher than the -1. So after the first mark has been input, high will take on that first mark. Do you follow? Okay. Now, when x becomes 2, we're going to read in 45. Now, please, I'm just going to do this over here. Okay, let me just do this in Word so that you guys can actually follow, right? So we got high at the moment, right? High was -1. Now, let's just go to the next page because then you can see everything. Right. Okay. Don't worry about that. Right. So high is -1. What the first value high takes on, guys? Let me just make that a little bit smaller. All right, let's look at it now. Right. Oh, come on. Right. Let's look at it. So what's the first value high takes on? -1. High takes on -1. High is -1. Now, when it comes here, what's the first mark, guys? The first mark is 23. Is 23 greater than -1? True or false? It's true. And because it's true, guys, right? Because it's true, then high will now take on the 23 in this line over here. Let's go look at line numbers, right? In line 20, high will take on -23. And the previous value, it's Control D and Alt K, I think it is, right? And enter, right? The previous value, I struck through it. I put a line through it, meaning that it's overwritten. That value has lost. Now, the new value that high has is 23. Okay? The new value that high has is 23. Okay. Now, from line 20, it's going to jump to line 17. X was 1. X will become 2. That means we're going to read in the second number. Right? What is the second number? It's 45. Now we're going to come to line 19. Look at line 19, guys. What's the new mark? 45. What's the value of high at the moment? 23. Is 45 greater than 23? Is 45 greater than 23? Is that true or false? 45 is greater than 23. Therefore, high in line 20 will take on that value of 45. And 23 will be overwritten. That means the value of 23 is lost, okay? And the new value of high is 45, right? That was the second mark. Now in line 20, it's going to jump back to line 17. X will become 3. We're going to read in the third mark. What is the third mark? The third mark is 78. Now we're going to come to line 19. What is marked, the new mark? It's 78. And what is the value of high? Look here, look on the right hand side here, guys, here. What is the new value of high? 45. Is 78 greater than 45? True or false? It's true. 78 is greater than 45. And if this new mark is greater than the value in high, which is 45, then in line 20, high must take on this new value. So high now will take on 78. And what happens to the 45, guys? The 45 is overwritten. It's lost. So the new value of high now is 78. So we come back, right? We come back to line 17. X will become 4. When X becomes 4, what's the new value of mark now? 91, right? The new value of mark is 91. We're going to come to line 19. What is the last value of high? It's 78. What is the value of mark? It's 91. Is 91 greater than 78? Is that true or is it false? 91 greater than 78. It is true. And because it is true, it's going to come to line 20. And what happens in line 20? High will take on this new mark value. The new mark value is 91. So high was 78. High will become 91. And 78 is overwritten. So 78 is gone now. So the new value that high has is 91. Do you notice what's happening to high? Each time line 19 is true, each time a mark is greater than the new value in high, then high will take on that higher mark. Each time high will take on the higher mark. If the mark is greater than the value that high has, then high will take on that value. So high will keep taking on the higher value, the higher value. Now it's going to go back to line 17 and X is going to become 5, which is our last value, right? And now what will mark become? In line 18, what will mark become? 82. All right. Now we're going to come to line 19. What's mark? 82. What's high? 91. Is 82 greater than 91? True or false? Is 82 greater than 91? No, it's not. So will it come to line 20? No. It will only come to line 20 if in line 19 the 82 was greater than the 91, and that's not possible. So it's not going to come to line 20, and that's it. Now I want you to look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Mark was 23, it was 45, it was 78, it was 91, and it was 82. Now, and X has reached its final value, guys. It reached the end of the loop. The loop is finished. I want you to look at high over here. What's the last value high has? Of all the marks over here, what does value high have? It has the highest value. So we're going to come here, right? And we're going to say print the highest mark equals plus str. Oh, damn. And it will be the variable high. So if you look at all these marks here, guys, which is the highest mark? It's 91, right? The highest mark is 91. So If you look at this over here, high eventually ends up with the 91. Let's go and run this and see if it works. Okay, so what are our marks? We're entering 5 marks, guys, right? Enter the number of marks, 5. What are our marks? 23, 45, 78, 91, and 82. What should it output? If you look at lines 12 over here and line 13, the highest mark equals 91. The highest mark equals 91. Can you see that, guys? So what's the idea behind finding the highest? Before the loop, we let high equal to a ridiculously low value that doesn't even fall in our range. We run our loop in line 17. In line 18, we read in each new mark. Remember, line 18 will be executed 5 times because it's inside the loop. X will take on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Right. So each time in line 19, any new mark is bigger than the value that high has, high will take on that new mark. Right? High will keep taking on the new mark. When the loop finishes, high has the highest mark. Do you get that? Now, this is not the best possible way of answering the question. Why? Because sometimes we don't know what can be the lowest value or the most ridiculously low value. So how do we overcome that? Now, you guys got to follow this part carefully because it's, oh, just give me a moment here, guys. Right. You got to follow this part very carefully because I'm going to make some changes to line 16 now. Instead of saying high is assigned 1, you know what I will do, guys? I'm going to come here. And before I run my loop, I'm going to read in the first value. Check this out. Mark is assigned int, watch this now, input, and I'm going to come here and say enter mark 1. Okay. So the user is going to enter the first mark before the loop. And then in line 17, I will say high will take on the first mark. So what's the first mark input here? 23. So high will become 23. Now I already before the loop. Now remember now the loop starts in line 18. The loop is supposed to run 5 times. It's supposed to read in 5 marks. But before the loop, I already in line 16 read in 1 mark. What does that mean? It means my loop must not run 5 times now. It must run 4 times. Why? Because I already read in 1 value before the loop. So you see this 1, it will become 2. It will be from 2 to n plus 1. I hope you guys follow that. Right? So this is a much better program because we're reading in the first mark and we're saying high will take on that first mark. So now every other mark will be compared to the first mark, and each time high finds a higher value, it'll take on that new value each time. All right. The program should work exactly the same. Let's go and check it out. We're entering 5 marks. Now you see this line over here, enter mark 1. It's line 16 that's being executed. I'm going to enter 23. Check it out now. Now you see this enter mark 2. That's in line 19 because the first value x takes on is 2. So that's enter mark 2, which is 45, 78, 91, and 82. And the highest mark is 91. We're still getting the same answer. All right. So if you look at this, guys, right, I'm reading in the number of marks. I'm going to read in the first mark before the loop. And then I'm going to take that first mark and put it in high. Okay. I'm going to take that first mark and put it in high. Then my loop is obviously not going to run from 1 to 5. It's going to run from 2 to 5 because I already read in 1 mark. So this statement here, line 19, will be executed only 4 times because it'll be 2, 3, 4, 5. X will be 2, X will be 3, X will be 4, X will be 5. And each time the new mark is greater than the mark in high, then high must take on that new mark because that new mark is higher. When the loop finishes, high will have the highest value. All right. Now, the one thing, oh, I forgot to actually mention this to you. Tomorrow's meeting at 2:30, guys, I just remembered now that any programs that you have done on your own, the homework that I've given you, the programs that I've given you, and things like that over there, you will be given the opportunity to actually share your screen tomorrow, and you can actually showcase the program that you've done and and explain what the program is doing, etc., etc. So, because that would be fun and that would be very, very interesting. Okay, we're done with this now. Now that's the highest, right? That is the highest. Now, ooh, look at this. I want to find the lowest. Now, highest and lowest, guys, they're related to each other, right? In fact, the lowest mark, to find the lowest mark, the program is identical to finding the highest mark, guys. Are you watching? The program is identical to finding the highest mark. Look at the program. Look at this program over here where we found the highest. I only should change one thing. Well, actually two things. But to find the lowest, I'm actually just supposed to change one thing to find the lowest value. Can anybody either put your hand up or something like that and tell me which line would I change to find the lowest? No? Look at the program. I'll give you a clue. When does high take on a new value? When does high take on a new value, guys? When does high take on a new value? When the new mark input is greater than high. So guys, if I want to find the lowest, are you watching? See, this is greater than. If I go change it to less than, it'll find the lowest. Irrespective of what this variable is. You understand what I'm saying? Irrespective of what this variable is, right? All I'm going to do is change this one thing here, and it will find the lowest. I change the greater than to less than, it's going to find the lowest. Let's see. Let's do this very quickly. N is assigned int input. Enter the number of marks, right? Then I'm going to read in my first mark. Mark is assigned int in input. Oh, come on. Enter mark 1, right? And then I'm going to have a variable called low. Low for lowest is assigned mark. I look at the program on the left hand side where I'm finding the highest, and I want you to compare now, right? Let's just change this a little so we can get them in line with each other. Oh God. Right. No. Okay. Okay. Can you see this now? Oh, then show line numbers, right? Just trying to bring it in line here. Yeah. Okay. Line 17, high is assigned mark. Line 17, low is assigned mark. Can you see that? In line 18, for x in range, once again, I've already read in my first mark, so it's going to be 2, n plus 1. It's identical to the line 18 from finding the highest. Okay. Then what do? I read in my next mark. Mark is assigned, cast it to int, input, enter mark plus str x plus damn it. Okay, that's going to enter my new mark. Look at line 19 on the side over here. Now, when how am I going to compare? I'm going to check now if the new mark input is less than low. If it is less than low, then low must take on the new value mark. That's it, guys. Right? Look at line 21 on the side. High is taking on mark, low is taking on mark. I'm checking if mark is greater than high. I'm checking if mark is less than low. And that's it, guys. And I'm going to come here and say print the lowest mark equals, and it's going to be plus str. Which variable has the lowest? Low. Can you see that? So if you look at what we're doing here, right? Look at the two programs, guys. Compare the two programs. With the exception of the variable names high and low, right? Everything else is the same except for line 20. Line 20 in the highest, I've got greater than, if mark is greater than. High in line 20 in my lowest, I've got if mark is less than low. I could have still used the word high, the variable high, it'll still find the lowest. It doesn't make a difference what we name the variable, but I did tell you that it is important to give the variable names meaningful names. So just by looking at the variable, you can understand what it's doing. So let's go run this program. And I'm just going to change this a little bit, right? The values. Just give me a moment. Sorry. Okay. Let's save this. Right. And let's run it. Okay. Oh, I said I'm going to change these marks. Just let me just go. We've got 78. Let's go and make this 25, then 23. Let's make this 11 and we leave that as 82, right? So which is the lowest mark here, guys? The lowest mark is 11, so our output should be 11, right? Okay, so let's see what happens now. Okay, so we're entering 5 marks. What is our first mark? 78. Second mark is 25. Third mark is 23. Now remember, when 78 is input in line 16, low will become 78. The second mark that's input is 25. Is 25 less than 78? Yes. So low will take on the value of 25. When you enter the third mark, which is 23, it's going to come here. Is 23 less than what's low? Low is 25 now. Is 23 less than 25? Yes. So low will become 23. So each time low will take on a lower value, and we have 11, and then we have 82. The lowest mark is 11. So if you compare these two programs, like I said, they are identical except for the variable names. But more importantly, right, let me run this program and show you what I'm talking about, right? What did I just tell you? This program is doing what, guys? I'm going to make this 18, right? I'm going to make this 18. You'll see why just now. Okay, this program is finding the highest. And the highest over here is 91. We saw that it's outputting the highest. Check this out, guys. If I go and make this less than, I want you to see what I'm talking about now. If I change that one symbol to less than and run this program, right? If I change that one symbol to less than, let me just close this because so it starts off fresh, right? Okay. So how many marks are we inputting here, guys? 5. Now remember, this is the highest program that's running. Hey, it's this program over here. It says highest, but let's see what it actually does. So we got 23, we've got 45, we've got 18, we've got 91, and we've got 82. Now remember, the first time we ran this program, what did it do? It output 91. Now, check it out. It says the highest mark is 18, but if you look at all those marks, 18 is the lowest mark, right? Why is it saying that? Because I changed this less greater than to less than. Can you see how just changing one symbol changes a entirely what the program does, right? So it is important that you understand the difference between the two, the less than and the greater than, and when you're finding highest and the lowest. All right. Now, from week 1, I've been telling you about string handling and how exciting it is, and you can do so much of stuff with it. And honestly, one of the fun things that you actually get to do with it is you can actually write a Python program that you can send messages, you can actually send emails to your friends, and if anybody actually read those emails, it'll mean nothing. It'll sound like gibberish. All right. But you sending it to your friend, if your friend has the Python program to decode it, then it'll make sense. It'll make it clear text. So you can actually type it out normal, run your Python program, it'll encode it, it'll encrypt it, send that encrypted message to your friend. Your friend will run the other Python program and it'll decrypt it and it'll make it into clear text where you can understand what it's doing. It's a lot of fun, right? When we were learners, we used to actually do that in class on the network and send messages to each other, and the teacher didn't know because we came up with our own rules on how to actually encode, encrypt, and things like that. Right? Cryptology. It's fun. All right. So, in order for you to understand and actually get there, all right. Unfortunately, we really ran out of time now. I mean, in the 3 weeks, right? Because you did need to understand exactly how the if statement works, how the elif, how the else works, how the for loop works. You needed to know data types. So just remember, it's a lot of grounding that we actually covered, right? So let us go and look at something very simple. String handling. Now, this is the important thing about strings, guys. Before we go any further, right? String handling. Oh, all right. A string. Now, these are questions. This is what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. A string, guys. Can remember when I was doing data types with you people? Int, float, string, boolean. A string, that's str, can store any character, letters, digits, spaces, special characters, anything, right? So if you look at this example over here, we can use either single quotation marks or we can use double quotation marks. It's the same thing. Now we can assign a string to a variable, or we can ask the user to enter a sentence and store it in a variable. All right. Now, our for loop, we say for x in. Check this out. Word is assigned Batman. I'm assigning Batman to word. Word is a variable, so word will be of type string. Now check this out. For x in word, what does that actually mean? For x in word. Now remember when we had, is this thing still open? Yep. Yeah, check here. For x in range 2 to 6, n was 5, right? It's 2 to 6. So when x will first take on 2, then x will take on 3, then x will take on 4, then x will take on 5. What does this mean? See here? Word is assigned Batman. What does that mean? For x in word, it means that you see each character, guys? Each character is its own value. B is its own, A is its own, T is its own, M is its own, A is its own, N is its own. So for x in word, x will first point to what? The first time the loop runs, x will point to what? It'll point to the B. When the loop runs a second time, x will be pointing to the A. The third time, x will be pointing to the T. You get the idea? If I have to write this program and run it, and we run that, this is what our output should look like, guys. First, x is equal to B, then x is equal to A, then x is equal to T, then x is equal to M, then x is equal to A. You get the idea? So let's try that out. And we don't have to assign, well, we're going to assign it and then we're going to, right? So we can call it word because it's just one word right now, right? We can say word is assigned. I'm using Diana here, right? Diana. Then I'm going to come here and say for x in. Now remember, x is our loop variable. In Word. What is word? Word is Diana, right? And then I'm going to come here and say print X. So what's the first value X will take on? X will take on D. It'll print D. Then the next value X will take on will be I. It'll print I. The next value X will take on will be N. I'm sure you guys get the idea. So if we go and run this, can you see that, guys? D-I-A-N-A. One character each time. First X pointed to D, then X pointed to I. Do you get the idea? So each time the value of X was taking on a different value from the string. Okay? So that's one way of doing it. Let's go look at what program 2 is. Okay. So let's just work with, let's go modify 1. Now, what are we doing over here, guys? At the moment, we are assigning, we as programmers are assigning a value to word, but we can give more control to the user and we can say, I don't need to cast it because remember, word is a string. So I'm just going to come here and say input, enter your name, right? So whatever name you enter, it'll output that name one character below the other. Let's go and check it out. Okay. Can you see that? Whatever the user enters, it's going to run that. Okay. Let's try something else. Okay. Check it out. So it doesn't make a difference what you enter. The loop X will point to E, then X will point to L, and then the second L, and then E, and then the hyphen, etc., etc. You get the idea, right? Now, what you need to understand with regards to strings is that a string has characters. A string has characters. And each character has a position. So I just want to explain that to you. All right. Okay. Let's go and insert. Right. 2 columns. No, 2 rows. 2 rows. Let's go with. All right. Okay. Right. So let's assume. Oh, damn it. Okay. Right. So let's assume in the middle row now, right? I'm going to type in a name, right? Let me think of a name. All right. Oh, sorry. I'm going to put one character in each block. Okay. You know what? With the lowercase, it's not going to look very good. So let's go with. Okay. Danella. Now, if you look at the top, this is important, absolutely, absolutely important, because it'll help you understand the string handling. Right. Let's go and centralize that. Right. Each character in a string, this is one string, each character in a string has a position. Your first character is at position 0. Important. Your first character is at position 0. Your second is at position 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. You get the idea? They're not 6 characters there, they are 7. Right? There are 7 letters, there are 7 characters. Are you following? Right? Is that, yeah. Right. So there are 7 characters, but your first character is at position 0. Your last character is at position 6. You get the idea? All right. Now you can actually go backward through this. Do you follow what I'm saying? Right? You can go backward through this, and we will come to that. So this is important, guys, to understand the positions. Because if I wanted, I'm just giving you an example. Let's assume I wanted to take out Nell, Nella, Nell, right? N is at what position, guys? 2. E is at what position? 3. L is at what position? 4. The second L is at what position? 5. Do you get the idea? Right? So, how would I do something like that? Okay? How would I do something like that? Right? So, let's assume we'll continue with this program, right? Now, let's assume I entered Danella. Let's come here. Okay, I entered Danella. That's position 0, that's position 1, that's position 2. Check this out. If I come and say new name, it's a new variable, is assigned word position. N is at what position, guys? 2. Remember, D is at 0, E is at 1, N is at 2. I did tell you what the plus does to strings. It joins it, yes or no? Plus word position 3. Now, instead of using the word position each time, we actually call it index, people. Index is a fancy word for position, right? So we want word index 2, we want the character position 2, plus the character position 3, plus the character position 4, plus the character position. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see that, guys? Then I'm going to come here and say print, okay? And in here, I'm going to say new name equals, I'm saying the new variable name equals plus new name. So what is this doing, guys? What's at position 2? What's at index 2? Remember, D is at 0, E is at 1, so that's N. At position 3, index 3, E. At position index 4, L. At index 5, the second L. Right? Let's run this program and see what this does now. I'm going to enter Danella instead of Diana, right? Okay, let's go. Right? Check it out, guys. Look at what new name is. Nell. What did it do? It took it put the value at index 2, it joined it to index position, the value at index 3, it joined it to the value at index 4 and index 5. Can you see that, guys? So you can actually take out parts of a string. That means you can actually make up your own word. Come on, look at the word Danella. What word can we make from there? What do you think this would do, guys? Are you guys watching? Here, I'm going to use new name again, right? I'm going to use new name again, right? Oh, damn. I'm going to use new name again, is assigned. And please, what do you think this would do? Word index 4 plus word index 1 plus word index 6 plus word index 2. Anybody? Come on, guys. Come on. It's taking the value at index 4, it's joining it to the value at index 1, and then the value at index 6, and then the value at index 2. What word would that create, guys? Come on. Anybody? Anybody? No? Guys, even if you get it wrong, it's fine. No? Seriously? Nobody? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Plus, okay, I named that wrong, right? New name. Okay, let's save that, run it. Okay, Janella. Now, before I go and press enter over here, guys, all right, I'm going to come here. Let's work this out together. Tell me something, guys. This is position 0. That's E is 1, N is 2, E is 3, L is 4. So what's at position 4, guys? L. And it is joining it to, what's at position 1? Remember the first character is at position 0. So D is at position 0. What's at position 1? It's E. Okay. Then plus, what's at position 6? 6 is the last character, yes or no? That's A. Plus, and what's at index 2? D is at 0, E is at 1, N is at 2. What word is that? Lean. Right? So let's go and check our output. Is it this one? Yeah. Check it out, guys. Can you see that? So you can actually extract certain characters from a string and join them to make up new words using the letters that are there. And you can obviously repeat it, right? You can make the word lad, you can make the word den, you can make the word lead, L-E-A-D, land, L-A-N-D, land. There's so many different words you can actually make from one word, right? But you needed to understand this part. I'm just going to make this as a comment so it can stay there, right? So you know exactly what it's actually pulling out from there. All right. I am going to save that. And we're going to move on to the second program. Okay. Read in a word. Read in a word and determine an output how many letters there are in the word. Now tell me something. How do we go through an entire string from beginning to end? What programming structure do we use to go through a program from beginning to end? We use a for loop. So step 1, we need to enter the word. Step 2, now I told you this a few days ago when we were doing the for loop. Read in a word and determine an output. And whenever you come across how many letters there are in the word, whenever you come across the phrase how many, the number of, what type of variable are you supposed to use? The word starts with C. It's a counter variable. What is a counter variable? A counter variable will increase by 1 each time, yes or no? And we generally use counter variables in loops for specific things. And before the loop, we have to initialize a counter variable. And I told you the identity for addition is 0. I told you this yesterday. The identity for multiplication is 1. So first things first, I'm going to read in a word. So word is assigned input, enter a word. The user is going to enter a word, right? Then I need a counter variable, which is going to be assigned 0. Now, my for loop can go through the entire word from beginning to end. So for X in word. So whatever word, like if they enter Diana, first X will point to the D in Diana. Then X will point to the I. Then X will point to the A. Then the N. Then the A. Yes or no? So inside my for loop, I'm simply going to say count is assigned count plus 1. That means I'm increasing the value of count. Each time the loop runs, count will increase by 1. And that's it, guys. Now I can come here and say print. This print statement, it's in line with the for. Can you see? The P and the F are in line, so that means it's outside of the loop. All right. And I'm going to say, there are plus str count. There are count. Can you see that, guys? Hmm? So, whoa, just give me a moment, guys. Okay, I just got a message here, guys. Tomorrow, uh, we will meet at 2 with this link over here, right? And we'll basically, actually, I need you guys to actually give me some feedback. We've got 15 minutes tomorrow. I need you guys to give me some feedback. That means I need you to actually communicate with me. Tell me, either type it out or talk to me and tell me exactly how you felt about the lesson, etc., etc. Because that meeting, that link that I showed you, and I'll show it to you again, it's going to start at 2:15 tomorrow, and it will end around 3:30, 4:45 tomorrow, right? Oh, and then I got another message. The lesson for tomorrow, right? The lesson that I was going to do with you guys tomorrow, I'm going to be recording it, right? And it'll be uploaded to YouTube, right? For those of you whose email addresses I've got, I'll also send you that YouTube link, right? So yeah, so those lessons we will sort out. You can actually go and view it on YouTube. Sorry about that. Okay, so just remember tomorrow we will meet at 2, and then we'll start at 2:15. We'll join the other meeting. Right. So let's run this. Okay. Diana, how many letters there, guys? Diana, there are 5 letters. Now I need to show you something. I'm going to change this word letters to characters, because it could be anything off the keyboard, yes or no? It could be anything off the keyboard, including spaces. So please pay careful attention. If I said Danella Bianca, how many characters there, guys? There's 3, 6, there's 7 in Danella, and there's 6 in Bianca. That's 13, yes or no? But guys, your output's going to be 14. Do you know why it's 14? Because we have a space, guys, and that space is counted as a character. A space is a character. Do you follow what I'm saying? A space is a character. So let me show you something else now. This is important because we're going to need to use this later on, right, in your programming. Instead of just start typing, I'm going to press the space bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I'm going to go and type Danella, which is 10 spaces plus 7 letters, that's 17. And then I'm going to press the space bar again, that's 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I've got spaces in front and I've got spaces in the back. Do you follow? 30 characters. Can you see that? Although the name Danella only has 7, I put so many spaces in front and so many spaces in the back. Do you follow? Now, when we code, when we write programs, people, we are coding it for people that are not really computer programmers like us. They are called end users, people. That means, somebody actually writes the program and they just use it. How the program actually works, they don't really know. So when it comes to forcing them to enter correct data or correct types of data, right? String handling is extremely, extremely important. Like, for example, we're asking them to enter a word or enter a name. Nobody has a number in their name, right? So if while they're typing, if they make a mistake and they press a number or they go put a percentage sign, your program needs to tell them, you know what, this is an invalid entry because those characters are not valid characters. Do you follow what I'm saying? Guys, that's called error control. That's called defensive programming, where you don't allow them to enter incorrect data because the program can crash, right? If the program, we were getting that trace back errors, that means the program crashed. Do you follow? Right? Let's go look at a trace back. Are you watching? I'm just going to come here and say count is assigned count plus A. I'm going to get a trace back error there, guys. Okay? Can you check that? When you get a trace back thing, the program just crashed. When you see this red writing like this here, it crashed, right? Why did it crash? Because, and it tells you which line you actually made the mistake in, guys. That means you cannot add a number to a string. Do you follow what I just said? Can you see int and string? You can't use plus with those two things, right? So that is a runtime error where the program actually crashes. Now, what was I just telling you? I was talking about all those extra spaces, yes or no? I was talking to you about all those extra spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's plus 6 letters. That's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And there's 16 characters. There are spaces in front and there are spaces in the back. What output would I have expected, guys? The name Shreya has only 6 letters. It should only give me 6. Yes or no? So all the spaces in front and all the spaces in the back need to go. They need to disappear. Do you follow what I just said? We need to remove. Spaces in front are called leading spaces, people. Spaces in front of valid strings are called leading spaces. And spaces after what you need, after the data that you need, those additional spaces are called trailing spaces. So we have leading spaces and we have trailing spaces, and we want to get rid of them. How do we get rid of them? We use a method, right? We use a method in Python. Python comes with a built-in method that will remove leading and trailing spaces. So check it out. I hope this works. Word is assigned word dot strip open close bracket. Strip will remove leading spaces and trailing spaces. That means if I type in the name Shreya, it should, with the spaces in front and back, it should still only give me 6. So let's see if this works, or we might just need to use a new variable, right? So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6, 5 plus 6 is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And what is it telling me, guys? There are 6 characters. SHREYA, 6 characters, because why? What did it do? Right? Now I'm going to show you what it's doing. Okay, check this out. If I come here and say print original word, right? We almost up, guys. I'm just going to just show you this and then we're going to stop. Original word equals plus word, right? And then I'm going to come here and say print stripped word equals word. This is after it's stripped, right? So very quickly, just run this last program and we're going to stop for today. So, right, so I entered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Now watch how the output is. Can you see the spaces here, guys? The spaces are there. The stripped word, no spaces, and there's only 6 characters. Okay, so we looked at how to count the letters, characters in a string. We looked at inputting the string. We looked at outputting it, right? We also looked at finding the highest and lowest. Remember, guys, where is that notice? Where did I put it? Is it here? Oh yeah, here we go. Right. Just don't forget tomorrow, guys. Right. Actually, yeah. So we'll just meet for a few minutes at 2, for about 10 minutes. I just need to talk to you guys, find out from you guys what you learned, how you found the lessons, and then we'll log off, and then we'll log into this new meeting over here with the Minister of Communications, Telecommunications, and the Postal Services. You guys have a good afternoon, and it was quite nice teaching all of you guys, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. Uh, it's NAY731 at Africa Teen geeks.co.za, and I gave it to you guys so many times, and right, so please email me. Take care, guys. Have a good afternoon. Be safe. Goodbye.